You know what most people don't realize? The greatest way to win love, the greatest way to capture someone's heart is not through control, not through chasing, not through trying to be perfect every second of the day. It's through letting go of fear, letting go of insecurity, letting go of that constant voice in your head that says, am I enough? Am I worthy? What if they leave me? What if they don't love me back? See, the human heart is not stolen with tricks. It's not stolen with manipulation. It's stolen with presence, with courage, with vulnerability. And vulnerability cannot exist if you're still gripping tightly onto your past, your pain, your doubts. Think about it. When you hold on too tightly to someone or something, what happens? You suffocate it. You kill its freedom. You destroy the very space love needs to grow. But when you let go, when you trust, when you lean into faith instead of fear, suddenly love breathes. Suddenly it expands. Suddenly you don't need to steal his heart because you've already created the space for it to be given to you freely. So what does it mean to let go? It doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop loving. It doesn't mean you stop showing up. Letting go means you release the grip of fear. Letting go means you stop measuring your worth by whether or not he validates you in the moment. Letting go means you stand in your power, in your radiance, in your authenticity, and say, this is who I am enough. I am whole. And if you see it, if you feel it, if you value it, you'll give me your heart willingly. Listen, love is not about begging. Love is not about proving. Love is not about earning. Real love is about alignment. And alignment only happens when you're willing to let go of the old story. The story that says, if I try harder, he'll stay. The story that says, if I change myself, I'll finally be loved. The story that says, if I hold tighter, he won't slip away. You want to steal his heart. Let go of those stories. Let go of the chains you've been carrying. Step into your power. Step into your truth. Because a heart cannot resist someone who lives in freedom. A heart cannot resist someone who radiates wholeness. A heart cannot resist someone who has already let go of needing love and therefore becomes magnetic to it. So today, I want you to ask yourself, what do I need to let go of? What fears, what doubts, what old wounds? Because the moment you release them, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop begging and start receiving. And that's the secret. You don't steal his heart by holding on. You steal it by letting go. Letting go creates space for love to grow. And this principle is deeper than most people ever realize because love cannot thrive in an environment of fear, desperation, or control. When you hold on too tightly to a person, to an outcome, or even to an image of how you think things should be, you are actually building a cage around both yourself and the other person. And inside that cage, there is no room for expansion, no room for oxygen, no room for the natural unfolding that true connection requires. Imagine holding a butterfly in your hand and gripping it tightly because you don't want it to fly away. What happens is you crush it, you kill it, and in that desperate attempt to keep it, you destroy the very beauty you were trying to preserve. Love operates the same way. It needs openness, trust, space, and energy to flow. And when you release the urge to control, you invite the relationship to breathe into something greater. Letting go is not about abandoning love. It is not about indifference. It is not about caring less. It is about trusting more, trusting the process, trusting yourself, and trusting the natural rhythm of connection. The more you let go of clinging, the more you free yourself to experience the fullness of love without suffocation. Many people believe love is about possession, about holding on, about making sure the other person doesn't slip away, but that belief is born from fear, and fear is the killer of intimacy. Fear shrinks you, fear makes you needy, fear makes you reactive, and no heart can fully open when it feels weighed down by the energy of fear. Letting go creates an atmosphere where love can expand freely like a flame that grows when given air instead of being smothered under a jar. Think about the times when you felt the most drawn to someone. It was rarely because they were chasing you or begging you to stay. It was because they radiated a sense of wholeness and freedom that made you curious, made you want to be around them, made you feel safe in their presence. That magnetic quality comes from a person who has let go of gripping fear and has chosen to trust their own worth. And in doing so, they create space for love to grow naturally. When you let go, you allow love to be a choice instead of a chain. You allow it to be something offered freely instead of something demanded. And the human heart responds to freedom with more depth, more openness, more passion than it ever does to pressure. The paradox is that the more you release the need to control, the more secure the bond becomes, because love that grows in freedom is stronger than love held together by fear. If you are constantly afraid of losing someone, if you are constantly checking, questioning, gripping, you are not actually building love. You are building a prison, and eventually both of you will want out. But if you step back, breathe, and trust, you create a dynamic where the other person can choose you every single day. And that choice is far more powerful than any forced commitment. Letting go is giving love the opportunity to be authentic, not artificial. Letting go also means releasing the past, because so many people walk into relationships carrying baggage from old wounds, old betrayals, old disappointments, and they project that fear onto the person in front of them. They grip harder because they are terrified of history repeating itself, but by doing that, they don't give love a chance to grow into something new. Every time you bring old pain into new love, you shrink the space where growth could have happened. By letting go of those old stories, by surrendering the belief that love must always equal pain, you open up the field for something beautiful to take root. Love cannot grow in soil poisoned by fear, but when you let go, you cleanse that soil and suddenly the heart has room to flourish. It also requires letting go of expectations. Expectations can strangle love because they demand that the other person behave in a way that fits your script, and when they don't, you react with disappointment or anger. But true love isn't about someone fitting perfectly into your script. It's about creating a new story together, a living story that grows and evolves. When you let go of rigid expectations, you create the possibility for surprise, for joy, for depth that goes beyond what you imagined. Love thrives in spontaneity and freedom, not in rules and restrictions. When you release the pressure of must and should, love has space to breathe, and in that breathing, it grows stronger. Letting go is also an act of courage because it means choosing faith over fear. It means saying, I don't need to control everything to feel secure. I don't need to hold on so tightly to prove my worth. I don't need to grasp to know I am loved. Courage and love is about trusting the unseen, trusting that if the connection is real, it will stay, and if it's not, you are still whole. And that kind of courage creates a powerful presence that draws people in. People are attracted to those who are unafraid to let go because it signals strength. It signals confidence. It signals that you know who you are and you don't need to force someone else to complete you. In letting go, you are also giving yourself permission to grow. When you are busy and all your energy is focused on keeping something from leaving, but when you release, you free up energy for your own development, your own expansion, your own radiance. And the more you grow, the more love you are capable of experiencing because love mirrors the level of expansion you allow within yourself. When you let go, you step into a larger version of yourself, and that larger version naturally creates a larger space for love to fill. Ultimately, letting go creates space for love to grow because it shifts the energy from fear to trust, from scarcity to abundance, from pressure to freedom. Love cannot be forced. It cannot be caged. It cannot be manipulated. It can only grow in an environment of openness, authenticity, and freedom. The more you release your grip, the more room you give for something greater to take shape. And that is where love becomes not just survival, but thriving, not just attachment, but true connection, not just a fleeting emotion, but a lasting force that expands beyond both of you. Vulnerability is stronger than control because at the core of every meaningful human connection lies the courage to be seen as you truly are, without masks, without manipulation, without building walls to protect your heart. Control is often the armor people use when they are afraid of being hurt, afraid of being abandoned, afraid of not being enough. So they try to manage every outcome, every word, every reaction, believing that if they can hold all the strings, they can guarantee love. But what they are really doing is shutting off the very thing that creates love in the first place. Control might give the illusion of safety, but it suffocates intimacy because intimacy thrives not on perfection, but on truth. Vulnerability is the language of the heart. It's the act of saying, here I am, here are my fears, here are my dreams, here are my flaws, here is my truth, and I trust you enough to let you see me. That act requires strength beyond anything control can offer because control is driven by fear while vulnerability is fueled by courage. Think about the times you felt closest to someone. It wasn't when they were trying to manage every detail of how you saw them. It wasn't when they were carefully curating their words to avoid rejection. It was when they let down their guard and showed you their raw, unfiltered self. Maybe they cried in front of you. Maybe they admitted a weakness. Maybe they shared a dream so big it scared them. And in that moment, you felt a bond that no amount of control could ever create. That bond is born in vulnerability because vulnerability invites trust, and trust is the foundation of love. Control, on the other hand, is born from distrust, from the assumption that if you don't manage everything, you'll lose, and that energy keeps people at arm's length. Control tries to dominate, but vulnerability invites. Control says, I need you to behave this way so I feel safe. Vulnerability says, I feel scared, but I'm willing to show you anyway. Control demands, vulnerability allows. Control builds walls, vulnerability opens doors. And the truth is, love cannot thrive behind walls. It needs open doors, open hearts, open spaces where both people can step fully into the light of each other's truth without fear of being judged. Vulnerability may feel terrifying because it exposes you, it strips away the armor, it takes off the mask, but it is precisely in that exposure that real strength is revealed. To be vulnerable is to risk being hurt, yes, but it is also the only way to be truly loved, because if someone only loves the mask you wear, they are not actually loving you. Many people believe that if they stay in control, they won't get hurt, but in reality, they end up lonely because no one can connect deeply with someone who never lets them in. Vulnerability, on the other hand, might feel risky, but it is the only path to genuine intimacy. It's like standing on a cliff edge and opening your arms to the wind. You can't guarantee the outcome, but the experience of openness brings life, while clinging to control is like locking yourself in a room with no windows. You might feel safe, but you're also suffocating. There is also a hidden power in vulnerability that control will never give you, and that is the power of authenticity. When you are vulnerable, you are authentic, you are real, you are aligned with yourself, and people are naturally drawn to authenticity because it resonates at a deeper level. Control tries to fabricate an image to project perfection, but perfection is cold and unrelatable. Vulnerability is warm, relatable, human, and magnetic. People don't fall in love with your perfection, they fall in love with your humanity, and humanity is only visible when you allow yourself to be vulnerable. Vulnerability also creates reciprocity because when you open up, you give permission for the other person to open up too. If you are always in control, always guarded, always pretending to be invincible, the other person feels unsafe to show their truth. But when you go first, when you reveal your heart, you create a space of safety where they can do the same. This builds a cycle of deepening trust, where each layer of vulnerability opens a new layer of connection, and over time, that is what makes love unbreakable. Control can never achieve that because control is about managing appearances, and appearances do not create bonds. Some people confuse vulnerability with weakness, but it is actually the highest form of strength because weakness hides, weakness deflects, weakness pretends to be strong. Vulnerability looks weakness in the eye and says, I'm not afraid to show you, I'm not afraid to let you see me, and that kind of bravery is magnetic. It draws people closer, it inspires trust, it ignites compassion. Control may look like strength on the outside, but on the inside it is fear trying to wear a mask, while vulnerability may look like risk, but on the inside it is power rooted in truth. In relationships, control often leads to conflict because one person is always trying to manage or dictate the other, and eventually resentment builds. Vulnerability, however, leads to connection because it says, I'm willing to meet you where I am. I'm willing to share my truth. I'm willing to trust you with my heart. And that level of openness creates an environment where love grows naturally. Control might win temporary compliance, but it never wins the heart. Vulnerability, though, steals the heart because it communicates trust, and trust is irresistible. When you let go of control and lean into vulnerability, you are making a statement that you believe in your worth, that you don't need to manipulate outcomes to be loved, that you are enough as you are, and that belief in itself makes you more attractive, more magnetic, more powerful than any attempt to manage or force could ever achieve. Control tries to push love into place. Vulnerability pulls it in naturally. Control creates tension. Vulnerability creates flow. Control isolates. Vulnerability unites. At its deepest level, vulnerability is stronger than control because it is rooted in truth, and truth always outlasts illusion. You cannot build a lasting connection on control because control demands energy to maintain. It is exhausting. And sooner or later, the cracks show. Vulnerability requires no maintenance because it is real, it is you, it is raw, it is sustainable. And in the end, what every heart longs for is not someone who controls them, but someone who trusts them enough to be vulnerable, someone who shows them the real essence of who they are, someone who says, here I am, imperfect, messy, beautiful, whole, and I'm letting you see me because love only grows when truth is revealed. Freedom attracts, fear repels, and this truth runs through every dimension of human connection because people are naturally drawn to what expands them and instinctively withdraw from what restricts them. Freedom carries a vibration of openness, possibility, and trust, while fear radiates scarcity, control, and desperation. When you embody freedom and love, in energy and presence, you become magnetic because people sense they can breathe around you. They can be themselves around you. They can explore without the weight of judgment or expectation. But when you lead with fear, they feel the opposite. They feel confined, suffocated, pressured, and the natural instinct in that environment is to pull away. Think of the people in your life who made you feel alive, who made you feel safe to dream, safe to laugh, safe to cry without fear of being judged. You were attracted to them not because they were perfect, but because they carried freedom within them. And that freedom gave you permission to step into more of yourself. Now think of the people who tried to control you, who acted from fear, who clung too tightly, who demanded constant reassurance, who carried the energy of scarcity and mistrust. Over time, you pulled back from them, not because you didn't care, but because fear drains life while freedom gives life. In every relationship, whether romantic, personal, or professional, this law applies without exception. When fear is present, love cannot grow because fear creates a climate of doubt and survival. Fear whispers, what if they leave me? What if I'm not enough? What if I get hurt? And those whispers fuel actions that are suffocating. Fear makes people demand more than they give. It makes them try to lock love down instead of letting it breathe. It makes them suspicious. It makes them reactive. The very behaviors born from fear are the ones that push people away. And ironically, the thing fear tries to prevent loss becomes the thing it creates. Freedom is the antidote because it shifts the energy completely. Freedom says, I trust myself, I trust you, I trust the process. And in that trust, there is room for love to expand. Freedom attracts because it communicates strength. When someone feels free within themselves, they are not begging for love, they are not chasing validation, they are not manipulating outcomes, they are grounded, secure, radiant, and this creates a natural pull. People want to be around those who carry freedom because it feels like sunlight, it feels like fresh air, it feels expansive. Fear, on the other hand, communicates weakness, not because fear itself is weakness, but because acting from fear projects insecurity, and insecurity drains attraction. Freedom communicates abundance, fear communicates lack, and the human heart is wired to move toward abundance and away from lack. Imagine standing in front of someone who radiates freedom. They are calm, they are open, they are unshaken by uncertainty. They give you space to be yourself, and they don't need to force you into anything. That presence is irresistible. Now, imagine standing in front of someone radiating fear. Their words might be loving, but their energy is tight. They are checking on you constantly. They are clinging. They are anxious. And instead of feeling safe, you feel trapped. That energy does not make you want to stay. It makes you want to escape. Freedom attracts because it is expansive. Fear repels because it is contracting. Freedom is not about indifference. It is not about saying, I don't care. It is about choosing trust over control. It's about holding love with open hands instead of clenched fists. It's about saying, I allow you to choose me freely. I allow you to breathe. I allow you to grow. And in that allowance, the bond strengthens because people value what they choose, not what they are forced into. Fear doesn't allow choice. Fear tries to trap. Fear tries to control outcomes. But the human spirit resists anything that takes away choice. Freedom honors choice, and that is why it creates loyalty, attraction, and depth. When you embody freedom, you also radiate confidence, and confidence is magnetic because it signals security. Freedom says, I am whole with or without you, and from that wholeness, I invite you to share this space. Fear says, I am nothing without you, and from that emptiness, I demand that you fill me. The first posture pulls people in, the second pushes them away. No one wants to feel like someone's entire sense of self depends on their presence, but everyone wants to feel chosen by someone who is already whole. Fear is rooted in scarcity, the belief that love is limited, that if I don't hold on tightly, it will slip away, but freedom is rooted in abundance. The belief that love expands, the more it is trusted, the more space it is given. Fear is exhausting to carry because it requires constant vigilance, constant control, constant reaction, while freedom is energizing because it allows flow, it allows ease, it allows presence. Fear makes you chase, freedom makes you attract, and the difference is night and day in how people respond to you. Look at nature. The most magnetic things in the world are free. The ocean is free, the wind is free, the sky is free, and people are drawn to them endlessly. No one is drawn to chains, no one is drawn to cages, no one is drawn to prisons, because restriction repels. Love works the same way. If you try to cage it, you kill it. If you let it be free, it grows. The most powerful relationships are not the ones where fear controls the outcome, but the ones where freedom allows expansion, exploration, and deeper trust. Even in your own body, the principle is true. Fear contracts your chest, your breathing becomes shallow, your body tightens, but freedom expands your lungs, your breath deepens, your muscles relax. On a biological level, your body thrives in freedom and suffers in fear. This mirrors what happens in relationships. When you embody fear, you create tension that suffocates the connection. When you embody freedom, you create ease that allows love to flow naturally. Freedom attracts because it creates an energy of possibility. People feel that with you. They can grow, they can dream, they can explore, they can be themselves fully without fear of rejection. Fear repels because it creates an energy of limitation. People feel that with you. They must shrink. They must walk carefully. They must sacrifice parts of themselves to keep the peace. And no matter how much love may exist, if someone feels smaller around you, they will eventually leave to find space to expand. But if they feel larger, freer, more alive around you, they will stay because that experience is rare and priceless. The choice is always between freedom and fear. Every thought, every word, every action in love carries one of these energies. Fear chokes the bond, freedom strengthens it. Fear clings, freedom allows. Fear doubts, freedom trusts. Fear contracts, freedom expands. And the person who chooses freedom over fear becomes magnetic because they embody the energy every heart longs for, the energy of expansion, possibility, and safety. That is why freedom attracts and fear repels, because love, like life, is always moving toward growth, toward expansion, toward openness. And it will always resist anything that tries to lock it down or hold it back. Stop chasing, start aligning, because the energy of pursuit often comes from a place of lack, from the belief that you don't already have what it takes, from the feeling that you must run after love, run after validation, run after someone else's attention in order to feel whole. But the truth is that chasing drains your power while alignment restores it. When you chase, you put yourself in a position of desperation. You are broadcasting to the world that you don't believe you are enough as you are, and that energy repels rather than attracts. When you align, you are not running after love. You are embodying the version of yourself that naturally draws love in. Alignment is not passive. It is powerful because it requires you to be intentional about your energy, your choices, your boundaries, and your truth. And when you live in alignment, the right connections find you without force. Chasing comes from fear, from the story that if you don't constantly prove your worth, someone will leave, someone will overlook you, someone will choose someone else. That fear makes people overextend, overgive, overperform, and instead of creating closeness, it creates distance. When you chase, you communicate that the other person's approval is more important than your own self-respect, and that dynamic is never sustainable. Alignment, on the other hand, communicates self-worth. Alignment says, I know who I am, I know what I offer, I know my value, and I will not run myself into the ground to convince someone else to see it. That confidence is magnetic because people are drawn to those who don't need to chase, to those who stand in their center and allow what is meant for them to arrive naturally. The irony is that the more you chase, the faster things run from you, because chasing creates pressure. It makes people feel like they are being hunted instead of invited. Pressure suffocates, but alignment liberates. When you stop chasing, you stop gripping, you stop controlling, you stop sending the energy of desperation into the connection, and you start creating space for the relationship to grow in freedom. That space is what makes people want to stay, because they feel they are choosing you rather than being forced into you. Choice is powerful, and alignment honors choice in a way that chasing never does. Alignment is about becoming the person who naturally attracts what you desire, and that means focusing inward rather than outward. Chasing says, I need something outside of me to complete me. Alignment says, I will grow into my highest self so that what matches me comes naturally. It's about living in congruence with your values, about cultivating your energy, about building your life in a way that reflects the love you want to experience. If you want deep connection, align with depth in yourself. If you want trust, align with honesty in yourself. If you want passion, align with purpose in yourself. Chasing skips this inner work and tries to jump straight to the outcome, but alignment makes the outcome inevitable because it begins with who you are becoming. When you chase, you are often chasing an illusion, an idea of what love should look like, an image of what you think will make you happy. But when you align, you attract reality. You attract what truly fits, what resonates with your authentic self. Many relationships fail because people chase a fantasy instead of aligning with truth. They run after someone who fits their projection, but not their soul. Alignment removes the projection because when you are aligned, you are clear about who you are, and that clarity draws in someone who sees you, not someone you need to convince. Chasing also depletes your energy. It is exhausting to constantly strategize, constantly perform, constantly measure whether you're doing enough to hold someone's attention. It puts you in a cycle of anxiety and self-doubt, and eventually, no matter how much you give, it will never feel like enough because the underlying energy is rooted in lack. Alignment, by contrast, replenishes energy. When you are aligned, you are not pretending, you are not chasing approval. You are simply being, and that authenticity fuels confidence. You don't feel drained, you feel empowered because you are living in truth instead of fear. People can feel the difference instantly. They may not always have the language for it, but energetically they know. When someone is chasing, their energy feels heavy, demanding, desperate. When someone is aligned, their energy feels light, secure, grounded. One makes people pull back, the other makes people lean in. Attraction is not about games, it is about energy, and energy rooted in alignment is always more attractive than energy rooted in pursuit. The shift from chasing to aligning is also the shift from control to trust. Chasing is control in disguise. It is the attempt to manipulate outcomes, to force timing, to guarantee certainty. Alignment is trust. It is the faith that by being your authentic self, by living in your truth, the right people, the right opportunities, the right love will find you. That trust is magnetic because it communicates security, and security is what allows people to relax into you. No one can relax in the presence of chasing because chasing communicates unease, but everyone can relax in the presence of alignment because alignment communicates peace. Alignment doesn't mean you do nothing. It means your actions are rooted in authenticity rather than desperation. You still show up, you still give, you still express, but you do so from a place of wholeness, not from a place of needing someone else to fill you. That distinction is everything because love given from wholeness is powerful, it is irresistible, it is sustainable, while love given from emptiness always collapses under its own weight. The deeper truth is that chasing is about proving, while alignment is about being. Proving says, look at me, see me, choose me, I'll do whatever it takes. Being says, this is who I am, this is my truth, this is my energy, and if it resonates with you, you'll come closer. Proving is exhausting and unsustainable. Being is magnetic and effortless. The person who is aligned does not have to run after love because love feels drawn to them. When you stop chasing, you reclaim your power. You stop outsourcing your worth to someone else's attention and you start anchoring it in yourself. That shift alone changes everything because now you are no longer approaching love from a place of need, but from a place of choice. You are no longer asking, will they choose me? You are asking, do I choose them? Do they align with me? Do they reflect the energy I want in my life? That is power, and power attracts. Alignment is also about patience, because when you are aligned, you trust the timing of life. Chasing is impatient. It wants the outcome now. It tries to skip the process. But alignment knows that what is meant will come, and in the meantime, you are preparing yourself to receive it fully. That patience communicates calm confidence, and that calm confidence is irresistible because it shows that you are not swayed by fear or lack. Ultimately, stop chasing, start aligning is the shift that transforms not only your relationships, but your entire life, because it moves you out of scarcity and into abundance, out of fear and into trust, out of desperation and into power. The moment you stop running and start standing in alignment, you become a magnet for everything you desire, because you are no longer asking life to give you what you lack. You are living as if you already are whole, and wholeness attracts wholeness. In return, wholeness makes you magnetic, because the most powerful force of attraction is not beauty, not charm, not even effort, but the energy of someone who knows they are already complete within themselves. When you live from a place of wholeness, you radiate confidence, calm, and authenticity, and those qualities pull people in effortlessly. Wholeness says, I am not looking for you to fix me. I am not depending on you to complete me. I am not placing the burden of my happiness on your shoulders. Instead, I am choosing to share the fullness of who I already am with you. That energy is irresistible because people feel safe, inspired, and uplifted in the presence of someone who has claimed their own completeness. So many people walk through life fractured, carrying unhealed wounds, searching for others to patch the holes in their hearts, and this energy of lack becomes a weight in relationships. It shows up as neediness, insecurity, constant demands for reassurance, endless fear of abandonment, and those behaviors push others away. It is not that these people are unworthy of love. It is that their energy communicates that they cannot stand on their own, and that pressure drains attraction. Wholeness, on the other hand, creates the opposite effect. When you are whole, you don't need constant validation. You don't need to grip tightly. You don't need to chase because you already feel enough. That state of being communicates abundance, and abundance is magnetic. Wholeness also brings clarity. When you are whole, you know who you are, you know what you value, you know what you will and will not accept, and that clarity makes you powerful. You are not swayed by fear of being alone. You are not willing to settle for less than what aligns with your truth, and that certainly makes people respect and desire you. There is nothing more magnetic than someone who knows their worth and refuses to compromise it. People can sense it instantly because when you are whole, your energy is grounded and unwavering, and that stability is deeply attractive. Being whole does not mean being perfect. It means being at peace with your imperfections, being unashamed of your flaws, being honest about your wounds while refusing to let them define you. Wholeness is integration. It is gathering every part of yourself, the light, the dark, the victories, the mistakes, and holding them in acceptance. That acceptance radiates outwards because when you accept yourself fully, you give others permission to do the same. People feel safe with those who are whole because they don't feel judged, they feel seen. Wholeness creates a magnetic field of authenticity, and authenticity is irresistible in a world full of masks. Wholeness also frees you from desperation, and desperation is one of the fastest ways to repel love. When you are whole, you no longer approach relationships as if they are your only source of fulfillment. You approach them as an addition, an enhancement, a sharing of the love you already feel within. That shift makes every interaction lighter, freer, more joyful, because you are not trying to extract something from the other person, you are offering something. You become a source of energy rather than a drain of it. People are drawn to sources of energy. They move toward those who give more than they take, and wholeness allows you to give abundantly without losing yourself. Wholeness makes you magnetic because it communicates independence. Not the kind of independence that shuts others out, but the kind that says, I am capable, I am strong, I am fulfilled on my own, and I choose to share my life with you. That independence is attractive because it removes the weight of responsibility from the other person's shoulders. They don't feel like they have to constantly rescue you, constantly reassure you, constantly fill the emptiness inside you. Instead, they feel free to simply enjoy the connection. That freedom makes love deeper, not shallower, because people stay where they feel light, not where they feel burdened. When you are whole, you also attract from a higher level. Instead of calling in relationships that mirror your wounds, you call in relationships that mirror your wholeness. Brokenness tends to attract brokenness because like energy meets like energy. When you are fractured, you will often find yourself drawn to others who are also fractured, and the dynamic becomes one of trying to fix each other instead of building together. But when you are whole, you attract people who are also whole, and together you create not a cycle of healing wounds, but a foundation for expansion. Wholeness attracts wholeness, and the relationships born from that foundation are richer, healthier, and longer lasting. Wholeness also enhances presence. When you are whole, you are not constantly lost in your fears or anxieties. You are not distracted by what is missing. You are able to be fully here, fully now, fully alive in the moment with the person in front of you. Presence is magnetic because it makes people feel important. It makes them feel like they matter. It makes them feel truly seen and heard. Fear and lack pull your attention away, but wholeness anchors you in the present, and that grounded presence makes your energy impossible to ignore. It is also important to recognize that wholeness makes you magnetic because it radiates joy. Joy is not the same as happiness dependent on circumstances. Joy is the inner glow that comes from knowing who you are and embracing it fully. People are drawn to joy because it uplifts them, it inspires them, it reminds them of what is possible. A whole person doesn't need external circumstances to dictate their inner state, and that steadiness is compelling. When you can carry joy with you regardless of what is happening around you, you become a light in the room. And people naturally gravitate toward light. Wholeness creates boundaries that protect your energy, and boundaries are attractive because they show self-respect. When you are whole, you don't allow yourself to be mistreated. You don't beg for scraps of attention. You don't cling to toxic connections out of fear of being alone. Instead, you stand firm in your worth and release what does not align with it. That decisiveness may scare away those who only sought to take advantage of you, but it magnetizes those who respect and value you. People cannot resist someone who refuses to compromise their dignity because dignity is rare and powerful. Finally, wholeness makes you magnetic because it shifts the entire dynamic of love. Instead of two halves coming together to complete each other, it becomes two wholes coming together to expand each other. That dynamic is abundant. It is creative. It is powerful because neither person is grasping at the other for survival. Instead, both are overflowing. And the relationship becomes a space where love multiplies rather than fills a void. This is the kind of love that lasts, the kind of love that grows, the kind of love that feels alive. And it all begins with wholeness, with the decision to stop waiting for someone else to complete you and to claim your completeness now, because in that completeness you become magnetic, not by trying, not by forcing, but simply by being the fullest, most authentic version of yourself. And that is a force of attraction stronger than anything else in the world.